Welcome to the Nevada Legislature 2013. Get an in-depth look at the issues, actions, and efforts within the 77th session of the Nevada Legislature. This is the Nevada Legislature 2013.
5 terms in the Nevada State Assembly. First term now in the Senate. He is a man who is the very, very important chair of Commerce, Labor, and Energy, vice chair of Transportation. But as some have called him very, very simply, he is a man who, without a doubt, is a no-nonsense individual who has his constituency in his heart and his community on his sleeve. We're very honored to have Senator Kelvin Atkinson as our very special guest. Senator, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you are no nonsense. You are a straightforward individual who has always seen his community as the core of who he is. We are in a situation now within the state economically. We continue to face struggles. This state legislature is dealing with a lot of issues. Governor has proposed a $6.55 billion budget. Not everything that you agree with for sure, and I want to talk about that in a little bit. But how much of what it is for you in this session is your community, your constituency, and the issues that they face, rather than the entire state and the issues that we face?
Thanks for the question. I think that when you look at my district, Senate District 4, it is probably one of the more diverse districts in the entire state. It has a pretty large Hispanic population. It has the only predominantly African American constituency, which is West Las Vegas. And in the core of the district, it is probably the more diverse area of the entire state. So it's difficult to balance the needs of each one of the different communities in the district. But what I do know is that the community is crying out for jobs, crying out for opportunities to stay in their homes, and crying out for opportunities to see their family and their communities grow. So with that said, it's a little easier to balance when you know that you're trying to make life better for your folks.
I want to talk about the jobs because I know that's so very important to you. But the latest results show that our sales taxes in the state have increased by about 3%. Increased mostly driven by Southern Nevada. Northern Nevada, the sales taxes have actually decreased. And all 3% increase might sound good. It is less than what the Economic Forum had anticipated it was going to increase by. You're still dealing with this budget question. How much do you worry about what the Economic Forum had put forth, what they expected, and that we're still not reaching those numbers when we have to deal with the budget in the biennium, that now we don't know where the money's coming from?
Right. Well, I think 2 things to answer that question. One is we know Senator Sagerblum has a bill in to have us go into annual sessions as to a biennium, and I think that's important, and I think we need to stop talking about that.
Ready for it?
I think we've been ready for it. I mean, I think
but it's been there all the time, Senator, and it never gets passed.
It never gets passed, absolutely. But I think it is. If you look at the makeup of the legislature as it relates to now, as opposed to before, I think there are a lot of new people and a lot of new people that are willing to entertain some new ideas. And I'm not huge on term limits, and I think that they were not good for the state, but we do have some new folks and some new ideas right now, and I think a lot of them are a little more amenable to addressing that issue. I sit on, I am now the chair of the Council of State Governments West, and when we're meeting with our counterparts from around the western states, it's almost laughable sometimes when we tell them that we are in session every other year. I mean, they're astounded. I mean, Nevada has some very unique issues, and I think going through this recession probably has taught us that we can't wait every 2 years to address our needs.
But we have always been a citizen, quote unquote, a citizen legislature. I mean, that moniker has been around for a long time.
Absolutely.
Do you fear then, if we go into an annual session, that now we become professional lawmakers rather than citizen lawmakers?
Well, I mean, we'll probably always have that argument, right? But the fact is, I don't care what the stigma of the legislators is I care about our citizens, and our citizens can't have their issues addressed every other year.
There's that no nonsense lawmaker coming out again. Okay. Now, you mentioned a term, and I want to get to this. You said this issue of term limits needs to be addressed. It became effective in 1996, if I'm not mistaken. Even Senator Reid said we need to end this. For those of us who've been in this session for a long time, I've been here 13 sessions, 26 years, we know what has happened is the lawmakers' knowledge has changed dramatically. It becomes almost every session a learning session, another learning session.
Absolutely.
Is it time to go back and say, wait a minute, the only term limit that should be there, as Senator Reid said, is the ballot box and not a number that people believe should be a correct number?
Absolutely. I've always felt that way. I've always felt that we have the opportunity to change the makeup of our political seats, and that's at the ballot box. And I think the citizens should be doing that. I think the citizens themselves are not all that happy with what has been going on and losing some key leaders in our state strictly because we have a number attached to them as opposed to the good things that they've been able to accomplish through service. And so I agree with the senator on that. But I think while we're here, we're sent here to do what's right for our state and for our communities.
Okay, let's get into this issue of taxes and dollars and education, things that I know are very, very important to you. The governor's budget, it was clear that $150 million was coming out of highway funds and going into the other funds so he could raise money for education.
Right.
At the same time, that meant that highway funds would be somewhat depleted. And you believe you have SB 170, if I'm not mistaken, to put that money back and keep it in there for the creation of jobs. Jobs are an important part of everything within the community, especially considering the unemployment rate in Southern Nevada, in our community in Southern Nevada. Why keep that money there? Why not go with what the governor wants to do?
Well, I think that, again, that this is a question that probably has to be addressed twofold. And the first part of your question is why not do it the way that the governor wants to do it? I think that those of us that were here in 2009 and made the decision to divert the highway fund, which is the GST, which is what people are most familiar with is the government services tax. We decided to divert that money to plug the budget hole then. We made a promise then. We told our citizens then, and we told everyone who was listening that this was a temporary fix and those monies would go back to the highway fund after the 4 years. Well, that time has come, and I want to keep our promise. Our promise was that it would go back to the highway fund. People that are paying their registration do not understand this. They don't understand that they're paying $500, $600, $700 to register their vehicle, and we're third or fourth in the nation as far as how much our citizens pay with registration funds. And so they don't get the unnexus of the money that is supposed to be going to its highway fund, plugging the hole to go pay for safety or Department of Safety or something like that. Or education. They want those dollars spent where they're supposed to be spent. And so they don't understand when we say we have a highway fund shortage, that it doesn't make sense to them because they know that we're paying some of the highest registration fees in the country. And so when you say that what the governor has proposed, I don't think that my citizens send me up here to rubber stamp what the governor proposes. That's why I'm here. I'm here for 120 days to come up with ideas of my own and address the needs and concerns of my citizens. And they're saying that they want their money that they pay for their cars and their registrations to go towards roads. It's one of the more direct nexus that we have in this state. Fees for cars, fees for roads. And that money and for jobs. I mean, construction industry, as we know it, at one point there were 67% unemployed. That number's probably grown a little bit since then, and this money would be much needed to put a lot of those folks back to work. And I think we owe it to them to keep our promise to put it back.
So the governor in his budget said, I want $135 million more for education. A lot of good programs that he talked about. A lot of good programs like full-day kindergarten for some, not all. English language learners, some, not all. Your counterparts, the caucus within the Senate came up and said clearly, not enough. Not enough.
Right.
It needs to be $310 million. And all-day kindergarten for some? No. We need all-day kindergarten for all.
Right.
But the criticism already from your counterparts, your Republican counterparts, is tell us where the money's coming from. Why are you doing this without telling us where the money's coming from? Is the important factor here making sure that we're doing the right things educationally, or is it where is the money coming from?
Well, I think it's both again, and I think that if we're going to begin to address our state's problems, that we do need to look at it as a whole, and we need to stop coming up with these band-aids, because that's what this budget continues to do, and we continue to do this every session. And since I've been here, as you mentioned, 10 years ago, and now my 11th year, we always talk about fixing our tax structure,
Always.
fixing our base, and I think that we've begun to have these conversations a lot earlier this session than we've done in the past, because we normally do it at the end of session and everything gets jammed up and then we never ever get anything accomplished. I like the direction that we're headed this session and talking about some of these issues earlier, because that's what's going to produce more money. We need to fix our tax structure. We need to fix our revenue stream. I've said this on your show before. We've had this boom and bust. We thought that the casino industry, we have that here in the state, and we're recession proof as a result of it. We found out the hard way that we're not.
But let's be honest. The casino industry is very, very powerful in this legislative body. They want to protect their interests. They want to protect their taxes. Mining, if I'm not mistaken, probably has more lobbyists tied to mining in this session than I have ever seen before. They're going to make sure that they're not going to be harmed by it.
Right.
And you've got to make sure that you've got to have enough money.
That's right. That's right. And some of the discussion is getting them to the table as well. I mean, no one's saying that mining and the casino industries are going to be absolved. But I will say this, and since I've been here, each time we've asked mining to come to each time we've asked gaming to come to the table, they've come. Have they always given what we've asked for? No, they haven't. But they've always come to the table and participated in paying new taxes and increasing revenue. So I know mining is another story. They've found unique ways to participate, but they've participated. And so it's going to be up to us, though, and it will be up to the legislature to make sure that these industries participate in the funding of education in this state as well. And you look, we have to understand that education is the key to our state. I mean, we're empowering and we're educating folks that are going to be taking our places in the near future. So,
Senator, I know education is a core passion of yours. It is this center part of who you are. I've heard you speak in the community. I've seen you around education. It's always not about money, though.
Right, absolutely.
It is about reform. And the question is, will this legislative body do the right things to reform the educational problems that we have, along with looking at the dollars and cents that we need to spend?
Well, I think you have to have a healthy mix of both. I mean, you can't just do reform because these reforms cost. And so we have to have money to form these reforms. So for people to throw around that word as if it's a classy term and that it comes with its own money is false. I mean, if you're going to institute reforms, those reforms are going to cost as well, because schools are going to implement those reforms. And so I think you have to have a healthy mix of both.
Do we have buzzwords that we as citizens hear too much? Buzzwords like class size, buzzwords like all-day kindergarten. Those are buzzwords that emotionally hit people within the community.
Absolutely.
Is it the buzzwords or is it the reality?
Well, I mean, absolutely. We come up with terms that we feel are going to strike the core with folks. And while we come up with those terms, they're also true. We do need to reduce classroom sizes because teachers are complaining that they have too many students in their classrooms. 30 and 40 students, way too many for teachers to try to maintain. I mean, you ask a parent about trying to maintain when they have 3 and 4 kids at home, try having that in a classroom, 30 and 40 kids in the classroom. So yeah, they're buzzwords, but they're true buzzwords.
Listen, this has been probably the fastest time I've ever spent with a lawmaker on this show, and I would be remiss without asking you a very, very brief question. Senator Reid, in his state address to all the constituencies, said we've got to do the right thing for green energy. Mm-hmm. You're the chair.
Absolutely.
Will we see it, or will it be just one of those buzzwords again that we hear?
I don't think so. I think that you have some dedicated folks this session that are very determined to do something with energy this year. Look, I thought we were doing something great last year. As you know, my bill, AB 416, with Assemblyman Bobzien at the time, did something great for energy. The bill got vetoed because a portion of the bill that the governor didn't like. I believe we're taking that out this time and having that bill as a starting point to address some of the needs and some of the wants that we need in this state. I spoke with Senator Reid just before he gave his speech, and he invited me in to talk to me for about 20 or 25 minutes in Kirkpatrick's office, and that was our very topic about energy.
I would love to have you back because I think this energy situation is very important for our state. And as I said, this has been the fastest time period we've ever spent, and you've been very, very insightful. We appreciate that. And we'll bring you back again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It is all about everyone within the state. Contact your lawmaker. Let them know your feelings. I'm Steve Shore.